Welcome, race fans, back to the Boom Tube, and especially here to Atlanta, Georgia, at Echo Park Speedway, formerly the Atlanta Motor Speedway, for tonight's race number 6 of the Thursday Night Nitro Series and race number 2 of the Nitro Super Speedway Challenge. We've got a lot of tight pack racing action on deck for you here tonight. 3 wide, several rows deep. Truck cars are out on track for warm-up. And I think we're going to have a pretty good night of racing here. Should be action-packed. And I think we'll have a lot to talk about. One thing to talk about is the back-to-back wins for driver number 12. Sorry, driver number 15. Mr. Bennett Allen's on a hot streak once again. No stranger to victory lane. They were back-to-back at New Hampshire Motor Speedway and Bristol just last week. Looking for a three-peat this week to celebrate his 21st birthday. We'll see if he can pull it off this week, or if someone will play spoiler to his momentum and his charge up the standings. Speaking of standings, if you turn the attention to your screen, we've got our point standings. Kyle Nadeau still hanging on top of the board by a very slight margin. At just 4 points above Bennett Allen, who has stormed his way towards the top of the sheet to that second position. Dusty Martin's been Mr. Consistency as of late. Had a little bit of a problem last week at Bristol, but still managed to salvage a half-decent finish. He hangs on to the third spot, 25 back. Max Bauman has slipped a couple positions, off 2 last week after a rough race at the high banks of Bristol Motor Speedway. Thunder Valley was not kind to the Team Highlands racing crew, so he is now relegated to 4th position, tied with Devin Gentry in that spot, who actually is on the climb up the leaderboard as well. Picked up 2 spots last week, having led quite a few laps at Bristol as well, but unfortunately fading late race, and his teammate would go on to take the win. Bradley Murphy currently sitting in that 6th position, 49 back, and a slightly larger margin back to Doug Argabright, who is 67 back. Alex Finney currently P8 in that number 80 Waffle Machine. Paul Turner in the 5 is 9th in the standings. Crank Bell in the 14 rounds out the top 10. Coro Miller, Tanner Witt, Kenny Reel, and Terry Silvers all looking to make their march up the leaderboard. We'll keep an eye on that battle for 9th through 11th. That's a pretty tight one with just 6 points separating those 3 positions. So I think there'll be some flux in that order throughout the course of the race and the upcoming weeks as we head toward the playoffs, or rather the chase format. Drivers out on track for their warm-up. Going to be wrapping that up in just a moment. Going to go ahead and look at our qualifying results and see where they're going to line up this evening for this race at Echo Park Speedway. On top of the charts is Dusty Martin in his Long Shot Motorsports number 35. The Turtleback boys will be leading, Turtleback Trailer Boys will be leading the way to the green flag with a 32.015, followed close behind by Bennett Allen with a 32.046. And Kyle Nadeau even closer behind Bennett Allen with a 32.047, only 1,000th separating 2nd and 3rd place in qualifying. Max Bauman is going to start this race in 4th place. Colin Bolton in a 00 makes a return after problems at Bristol Motor Speedway. He's going to roll off P5. Alan Blue back after a long hiatus. Going to start his first race of the season in P6. Dan Jensen in that number 29 Snake River Racing entry with a 32.086. Very close qualifying effort between the entire top 10, all within 1/10 of a second. He's going to be followed by Doug Argabright in that DC Auto Sport Chevrolet in P8, with Mike Stiverson making his debut this week as well in P9, and Zach Miller rounding out the top 10 in his number 38 entry. Trucks are gritting up and getting ready to roll. We mentioned this will be Very much a pack racing style affair, much like you'd see at Daytona or Talladega, but a lot less room to work. Atlanta Speedway is pretty wide, but you got a few factors involved that you wouldn't normally see at other racetracks. Namely, looking at the front stretch on the right side of your screen, it is a traditional dogleg style that you would see at one of these mile-and-a-half racetracks. When you're 3 wide, that gets a little bit dicey. Drivers toward the outside don't quite have as much room to cut that off, and they will be looking to hopefully not run over each other through that portion. These are also tighter turns, which means aerodynamic grip will be at a premium, and if you happen to find yourself in the middle of a 3-wide situation, it will be very easy to get loose with the traffic around you taking the air and downforce off of your race truck. So keep an eye out for that this evening. Drivers will have that to contend with, as well as a pretty green racetrack. They're going to be hoping this gets rubbered up in fairly short order, so grip does improve throughout the course of the run. Of course, the drivers out on track trying to rubber it up during warm-up and trying to make the track as good as possible for the start of the event. Quick rundown of our top 10 before we get rolling here at Echo Park Speedway. Dusty Martin's going to lead him to the green flag in the 35 with Bennett Allen in the 15 to his outside. Row number 2 sees Kyle Nadeau, followed by Max Bauman. Kyle Nadeau is serving EOL, so he will start at the rear of the field this week. Max Bauman currently sits P4, also with an EOL this week. Several from issues stemming from Bristol Motor Speedway last week. So our running order, let's just go ahead and hide this and go as they stand. Alan Blue's going to roll off P4. Doug Argerbright, P5. Mike is going to start, Doug Argerbright, P6. Mike's going to start to his inside in P5. Bradley Murphy is going to roll off P7 with Zach Miller in the 38 to his outside. Cody Schultz going to start in P9, and Jake Doffing, his teammate, in the 13 is going to round out the top 10 to start this one off. But man on point is Dusty Martin, looking to get it done here tonight at Echo Park Speedway, a notoriously talented super speedway racer. We'll see if those talents transfer to a slightly smaller version of super speedway racing here at Echo Park. We're going to go green in just a moment and see what tonight has in store. Lock and load, they're getting ready to go green flag racing here in Atlanta. Green is out. Dusty Martin asleep at the wheel a little bit on the start. It's going to be Bennett Allen taking a big jump on that outside lane. Bennett clears the pack, but he doesn't have any drafting help. Expect Dusty to catch him in short order, followed by the rest of the field. It's going to be Blue and Jensen both side by side for the third position, and they're 2 wide, 5 rows behind. Side by side in the mid-pack, we see Bennett Allen dip down to the low lane. It looks like he's potentially going to serve a penalty. Alternatively, might just be looking to stay out of the melee at the front of the pack. Not get caught up in any accidents or otherwise too early in the event. That's going to hand the lead to Dusty Martin as the pack converges. It starts tracking down that number 35 for the lead. It's Blue to the outside in the 23 Rackerdine machine, followed by Doug Argerbright and Zach Miller. Dusty Martin, Dan Jensen, and Mike Stiverson lead the bottom row. going to stay 2 wide. Nobody bold enough to make it 3 wide just yet in the race. It's going to be Alan Blue covering off that bottom lane. He's going to assume the lead. It looks like Dan Jensen pushes up the hill just a little bit with that change in aerodynamics on the nose of that Snake River Racing Ford. Once the tires get worn out just a little bit, it will be harder and harder to hold that bottom lane. Once again, this is races similar to Daytona or Talladega in the fact that you're mostly flat out for the entire race, but handling does come into effect as the tires wear out. So those tires actually will play a bit of a part here this afternoon, in contrast to those other super speedways. Side by side for the lead now. Top lane starting to gain momentum. It's Dusty Martin edging out just slightly here on lap number 8 to lead this lap. He's got help from Zach Miller and Jake Doffing on the outside. So far, so tidy here at Atlanta. I would hold my breath, though, because things can take a turn in a heartbeat when you've got this many drivers racing side by side. But so far, everyone putting on a pretty good display of skill and, of course, patience as we progress through the first 10 laps of our 110-lap race. Top lane gaining a couple more cars on the back. You've got Connell Bolton, and Max Bauman in the 89 stacking up behind the top 3. Top lane continues to gain momentum. Now Zach Miller also clear of that second row nearly. Slight resurgence on Alan Blue in the 23 with help from Doug Argerbright on the bottom. Side by side, a little bit of shakiness out of the 13 in that third row. Taking a look up the middle. As these trucks start to get tight, a bit of an understeer condition to them. It is easy to get underneath the truck in front of you in the corners as they slow down. The 13's looking to get some clean air on the nose of his Ford, potentially to the detriment of the 38, but with no help, he's going to start sinking back and stall out the momentum of that outside lane just a little bit as Bolton closes on the rear end. Still side by side for the lead, no separation. No breathing room for either one of the front 2 drivers. It's still Martin with a slight advantage on the outside, about a half a car length, now stretching to 1 over Alan Blue on the bottom. Miller's been a loyal pusher so far. We'll see what the tires will do in that second lane. He's got less downforce on the nose, so naturally using a little more front tire than the car out front. Will the 35 stay with him, or is he going to cover off the bottom lane? He chooses to stay on the top side. So far, it's looking like that's where the momentum is going to shift over the course of the long run. Side by side now, different players up front. Connor Bolton has made his way through traffic. Now he and Zach Miller, Toyota teammates to the bottom lane. They're currently leading the way as we cross through lap number 15 into lap 16 at Echo Park. We thought maybe the bottom had stalled out. That's not where the momentum was, with the top lane beginning to fall apart. Martin beginning to fall back without that help that he had from Miller early on. Now both of those cars going to slot up to the high lane, leaving Jake Doffing in no man's land on the bottom lane. Starting to calm down, single file through the first 5 positions. The next fight on the racetrack is for the 6th spot. It's Bradley Murphy on that outside lane with the position right now. He's fighting Doug Argerbright. Bottom lane continues to fade just a little bit. Argerbright coming down to help the number 13 of Jake Doffing, trying to make their way back forward. The Kenny Reel's going to get racy in the number 8 up front as well. He's not afraid to take that low lane, play things a little bit differently than everyone else. You see Zach Miller up front looking to cover off that lane. Dusty Martin thinks about it, but he's going to stay with the momentum on the high side, looking for help from the 20. Bolton looking undecided, kind of hovering between the 2 lanes, covering both. Will he end up deciding? It looks like he's going to cover off that top lane for now. Gets a bump down the front stretch from the 35, probably hanging on for dear life inside that Toyota. Pretty good shot on the entry to the corner as well. Outside lane struggling to find momentum. Ever since Zach Miller took over that bottom lane, it seems to have gotten a little more momentum. Things have been a little more organized down there than they had been in the opening 15 laps. Starting to put things together. Now it's the 8 looking to maybe take a peek to the outside. Shows the nose a couple times, maybe trying to fake Miller up high, but he's not going to go for it. Reel slots back in line. He stays the bottom lane and holds that 2nd spot for now. Things staying pretty sorted up front. It is too wide and an absolute melee in the mid-pack. Nobody really able to go anywhere. Things starting to stack up. Tensions are starting to rise as we get toward the second half of this first fuel run. Green flag pit stop, should this remain green, will be interesting. Of note, Echo Park Speedway entry to pit lane is on the back stretch, so things are a little bit different. Drivers are going to have to be pretty clear of their intention over radio and signaling when they're going to come in. Otherwise, calamity could ensue as they hunt down that pit road entry. They will have to be absolutely on their marks because pit road is that much longer with the entry being on the back stretch. Your time spent on pit lane under green flag will be quite extensive, so maximizing every bit of extra time you can get through there will be crucial in order to stay on that lead lap and stay in your pack of race cars if you want to be in contention at the end of the event. Seeing our first signs of 3 wide towards the midfield here. We've got Bauman, Murphy, and it looks like the 30 of Cody Schultz in a tangle back on the bottom side of the top 10. This battle for 11th. Just ahead of them, Dan Jensen and Alan Blue currently hold the last 2 positions inside the top 10. Starting to see more and more trucks on that outside lane start to drift up in the inside lane as well. He saw it out of the 20 on entry to turn 3. The front tires starting to wear out just a little bit. It's harder to keep that truck pinned down to the bottom line, and that's where this outside lane starts coming to play because inside lane requires just a little bit of lift sometimes to keep the car from washing up the hill too much and potentially causing an incident. So you're going to run that bottom lane. You better hope you got a good handling truck and you've taken care of those tires as Dan Jensen gets a piece of the wall on the outside. It's going to be tight coming off turn 4. He loses a lot of momentum, but gathers it back up off the corner. Out front, it's Kenny Reel finally put the move on Zach Miller for the top spot. Now going defensive back to that bottom lane. Now back to the top lane to cover off the advance of Martin. Bad bump. Now it's Kenny Reel hard in the wall. Unreal how fast that happened. No warning whatsoever. That might be the fastest and hardest I've ever seen a car hit the outside wall of the racetrack. Violent turn of events for the leader. Just a slightly bad push that really didn't look that bad to the naked eye, but unfortunately did just enough to unsettle the 8 and cause it to violently hook right. Single car incident will stay green for now. It's Zach Miller back out front. Everybody kind of cooling off just a little bit after that turn of events. Things are starting to settle out single file, at least in the top 6 for now. Outside lane still trying to make things happen on the bottom half of the top 10. Zach Miller still leads the way through 30 laps here on Echo Park Speedway. Slowly creeping up on the quarterway mark of tonight's race. Miller covering both lanes pretty well. Seems to have a pretty good advantage even without direct help pushing on the bumper. Oh, Jake Doffing slides way up the hill. Crowd's bolting almost all the way up to the outside Sanford barrier through that corner. That 13, while fast, looks like it's having some handling issues on that bottom lane. Very unsettled last time. That's going to be enough of a stall out in the bottom lane. Zach Miller will lose the lead. It's going to be Doug Argabright out front for the first time tonight with Connell Bolton and the 15 of Bennett Allen on the outside. Bradley Murphy slowly working his way into the picture on that outside lane. That black number 18 Ram 1500. He's been slowly inching his way forward through the top 10. Now finds himself in 4th in the running order. Bolton makes a bold move to the outside. Gave a push to the 15, then got a nose to the outside. Now the 15 stuck on the bottom, but Bolton's got no help to try to get that lead. We'll see if he's able to hang on as they come off of 4. He's got momentum on the high side, but it's still going to be the 15 of Allen leading lap number 34. One more bonus point in the bank for the 15. Drivers are going to have to be really careful about that side draft. We saw the 00 try to come down and take a little bit of air off that rear spoiler of the 15. Or rather, pack some air on the rear spoiler of the 15. But you see, I mean, the 15 come up the hill just a little bit and almost had an incident there. Drivers warned in the pre-race about side drafting over the course of this race. It is a different racetrack, and everyone is dealing with a different set of aerodynamics from how this truck was previously modeled on iRacing. Now new computer-aided fluid dynamics take over from a static drafting model that they had before, and that's a whole lot of jargon for saying the airflow over the cars got more realistic. That's about all there is to it. But with that comes realistic effects like getting loose, getting tight, depending on where you happen to put air or remove air from that race car. So dealing with traffic and the ramifications that other trucks have on the airflow over yours is paramount. Devin Gentry tuning in. The 12 is parked for this weekend. He's watching the race from a hot tub in the mountains. Go turned around turbos. It's like we got another birthday with Jake Dolphin as well. So keep an eye out on that number 13. Also looking for a birthday win. Slid back in the running order just a little bit. I think the front end handling might be fading on that truck just a little bit right now. Fresh Goodyear tires would fix that in short order, though. Keeping it clean and looking pretty quick so far this evening. Spent plenty of time within the top 5 already. I mentioned Bradley Murphy working his way to the front. Now from the top lane, crosses over. He's got help from Dusty Martin to take over the lead from Bennett Allen on the low side. We saw the double cross from the 00 just a short while ago to take the lead from Bennett Allen. Now the two forced to work together on that outside lane. Allen has momentum, not going to be able to lead that lap though, but they're going to be neck and neck with Murphy as they enter turn 1. Still side by side as they come down the backstretch. Now advantage to Allen in the 15 on the outside by half a truck length as they enter turn 3. Allen's going to take that risk coming down to side draft the 18. 18 keeps it tidy though. I think he's taking care of those front tires on that truck pretty well because we haven't seen him wash up the banking quite as much as some of the other trucks through the field as we cross through for lap number 40, so quite a few laps on these Goodyear tires. Some people feeling the effects of that, and those who've taken care of their tires throughout the run starting to find their way to the front. Bit of a bobble there as he gets a push. 18's getting a lot of help down into turn 1 this time from Allen in the 15. Dusty Martin, Doug Argerbright make up the bottom lane. We've got our first takers on pit stops led by Martin. Crank Bell also joins in the 14, so looks like the Long Shot Motorsports teammates gonna hit pit lane now for the first round of green flag pit stops. Maybe something none of us expected going into this race, but here it is anyways. We'll see how well they execute through this round of pit stops. Everyone gonna pray that it stays green. So you do not want to be trapped a lap down here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Taking cue from the long shot drivers, quite a few more head down pit lane. Some faster than others. A 15 and 00 absolutely sideways on entry. You'll see if they get it back down in time. We'll be watching for those speeding penalties to take effect. So far, so good for everyone. Out front, Doug Argerbright's going to inherit that lead through the round of pit stops. He's got no help. Everyone's pretty single file here. He and the 3 Snake River Racing entries are going to hit pit lane here on lap number 43. So number 20 will come through to lead a lap. Looks like Bauman's trying to stay out and potentially lead that lap as well. We'll see if he's got the gas to do so. Bauman kind of been taking it easy in the back of the pack for now. Might have the fuel to do it. That's going to be the question. And a bit of a gamble on his part as well. Does he want to potentially risk pitting by himself? He's going to go ahead and come into pits with the other two drivers around him on lap 44, so he does have more cars to race against. The rejoin is where things are going to get dicey for a lot of these drivers. Some of them coming out of the pits as we speak. Bennett Allen back out on the racetrack, followed by Connell Bolton. A great pit stop for both of them. Murphy with a little bit of a struggle getting back up to speed. It's Crank Bell, Terry Silvers, and Alan Blue, the next couple cars in line. We'll watch as these few cars come out onto the racetrack and merge in on the backstretch. You've got the 41 of Argerbright will lead the second group off of pit lane. That first group of three up to speed very rapidly. Argerbright without a whole lot of help right here. He's going to get overtaken by Bell on the 14. Could be good news for him as well, though. He's going to get a little bit of draft off that 14. That'll get him up to speed a little bit faster than the Snake River Racing teammates of Jensen and Doffing behind. Tanner Witt was just a little bit longer a pit stop, about a second gap between he and Terry Silvers, which plays out on the racetrack. A second looks like about 20 feet on pit lane, but once you just stretch it out under race pace, that's what it looks like for it to have just a second of difference on pit lane. Behind them in 13th and 14th is Cody Schultz, Alan Blue, and Zach Miller back in 15th. The driver keeping it tidy, but unfortunately no help to be had out on the racetracks. 81 Cameron Creasong sporting a new looking race truck this week, looking sharp. That done by his teammate in the 88 Waffle Motorsport teammate Tanner Witt with T-Dub Creative. If you're looking for some iRacing paints, feel free to look him up on Trading Paints if you want some really sharp looking race trucks. They've got these Ram 1500s looking mighty fine out on track every week. Very experienced designer. Out front, Bennett Allen has reassumed the lead, followed by Connell Bolton and Bradley Murphy. It's a three-car break from the pack so far. Behind them is Doug Argerbright leading a whole cluster of cars. He's got Daniel Jensen, Jake Dolphin, Craig Bell, Mike Stiverson, and Kyle Nadeau in tow. Keep an eye on this gap. So far, that top three still breaking away. Last lap for Bennett Allen leading that front group was a 31:47 to a 31:69 by Doug Argerbright leading this second pack. So a little bit of a pace differential. We'll see if they start hunting around on lanes just a little bit, and we can do a little bit of comparison ourselves. Looks like bottom lane for both. Nobody really experimenting with the middle lane. It looks like Dan Jensen gonna sneak out of line. He maybe wants to lead this group for a little while. Several others going to join on that high lane. This is not going to help their odds of catching that lead pack. However, side-by-side racing will hurt the lap times just a little bit. Now the lap time has fallen to a 31:89. The fastest lap in this group to a 31:60. 2 additional tenths lost as they begin to race side-by-side. Currently up on your screen, we've got the Nitro Super Speedway Challenge ongoing. This will be race number 2. This is taken from the top 4 eligible drivers at Daytona, with, of course, Doug Argerbright having taken the win at the first race in Daytona. Max Bauman, Dusty Martin, Kenny Reel also eligible for the cash. That'll be $40 in the pocket of one of these 4 drivers. We'll keep their position in the running order in mind as we go throughout the course of the race. The driver does not have to win. It is whoever is on top of this foursome by the time the race concludes tonight. Right now, Max Bauman sitting on top of the order, followed immediately behind by Doug Argerbright, so nobody counted out of this thing just yet, except possibly Kenny Reel with that heavy front end damage. front. We've tacked on one more car to the end of this group, but it's Greg Burchett falling a lap down, but he's going to latch onto the back of this draft and hopefully become the first car one lap down should we see a caution. It's Bennett Allen out front, followed by Connell Bolton and Bradley Murphy, a 3-car breakaway for the lead lap drivers. So currently, should things play out as they are, there's only 2 cars here in contention to take down the 15 and that threat of a three-peat this week. Lap time starting to favor this second group. Last time by, it was a 31.9 for that lead group. A 31.75 for Frank Bell leading the second group of race cars. Looking pretty tidy on that middle lane, shifting up just a little bit. I think they've found some speed in the middle of the track now. It's Bell, Bell gets a little bit loose on entry with the air taking off the spoiler, but it's Bell followed by Stuyvesant, Nadeau, Bauman, Argerbright, and Doffing. 6 cars in this mid-pack trying to make up ground to the lead. They are currently 4 seconds off and closing. This time by lap number 64, both lanes were exactly even, 31.83 for both groups of cars. See this lead group still sticking to the bottom. We got Bennett Allen trying to hang him up a little bit higher. Maybe exploring running that mid lane, but this small group of cars may be a little more agile, able to keep themselves stacked up together just a little bit better on the bottom than a larger group would. A little bit more racing in this mid-pack. That's going to cause some issues. Now everyone behind them falling back. Just the 97 and 89 currently left in this group. The rest have scattered now 2 wide behind them. Can't help but think maybe there was a bit of a pucker moment back in this pack. They were very close nose to tail. All it takes is one slight slip up from one driver and things can go sideways very quickly, but now getting put back together, but unfortunately losing quite a bit of ground, almost a half a second lost in that lap to the lead group. A 31.67, very quick lap out of the top 3. 31.76 for the leader of the third group, Cody Schultz, Zach Miller, Tanner Witt, Alan Blue, and Terry Silvers all trying to catch up to that second group, and they are gaining ground. Now within sight is that second group, and they're almost within a range to where they will be able to get some of that draft off the tail end of that group ahead of them. That's going to increase that speed even further and allow them to close up. Cody Schultz now getting very close to being within range of that draft. They can nearly taste it, just 1 second off the group ahead. Anywhere inside of that 1 second mark, you're going to start to get little hints of that draft, increasing that speed down the straightaways. Gap now closing back to Dan Jensen, his teammate. Jensen backs off just a little bit from the tail end of this, maybe trying to help his teammate Cody Schultz. Dipping back just a little bit farther so he can get a little bit of that draft and pull him up to this lead group. That'll be all 3 teammates back together. Doffing leading Jensen and Schultz. Snake River Racing back together again after that round of pit stops split the field into 3 distinct groups. Tanner Witt looking for the lead of that third group from Zach Miller. Looks like Blue is going to fade up high favoring that high lane. This is not going to help this group at all as they try to get situated and caught up to this second pack. Of all the times to decide to race side by side, it is not now. Half a second lost just through that last set of corners to the pack ahead. Now slowly starting to slip further and further away from the reach of Witt, Miller, Blue, and Silvers. Back up front of the lead pack, it's still Kyle Nadeau leading the way, followed by Max Bauman in the 41 of Argabright. Keeping in mind, those two running second and third in line. They are competing with cash on the line. Take a look at Dusty Martin. Dusty currently running one lap down. He's going to have to get up and contend with Burchett, but Burchett currently running up here with the lead pack, so he's about half a lap behind this lead pack. He's going to need a caution to change his outcome at this point. Very long pit stop out of the 35. We see 1 minute and 26 seconds was the total time spent on pit lane. Median for the rest of the field was about 49 seconds. Does have teammate Paul Turner there to work with. So not losing quite as much ground as he would by himself. They're running 32 flats, so losing about 0.2 a lap to the leaders. Could definitely be worse running solo. It's like the third pack, Witt, Miller, Blue, and Silver is starting to get their rhythm figured out. Starting to work together pretty well, and they got a hint of that draft of the group ahead. So they've closed now within 0.7 of that second group, running about 0.2 faster of a lap time last time by. Gap now closes to half a second. The 31.44 for Witt and Miller to a 31.65 for Cody Schultz on the tail end of that lead pack. Both drivers now pulling away from Blue and Silvers, both trailing just slightly, maybe a little bit of damage on the right front of the 23. Can't quite tell what's going on there. Just can't quite keep up in the draft. But Witt and Miller find their way back into the main pack, the core pack here in the middle, still led by Kyle Nadeau, and they are still 5.8 seconds back from the leaders. Running nearly identical times. Last time by 31.74 for the leaders, a 31.76 for Kyle Nadeau and company. Order remains the same out front. It's the 15.0088. Add the 81 of Creasong to the mix as well. Making this a 5-car breakaway, maybe even helping their speed overall just a little bit. Back and forth, trading lap after lap are these front two groups. 31.67 this time by for Kyle Nadeau. Last time for Bennett Allen, a 31.70. Very, very comparable lap times. We know the gaps. We're going to go ahead and display those lap times so you can keep an eye on the difference between these two packs. Second half of the pack, not very fast. These top four are definitely getting it done in this second group. See a 31.68 out of Nadeau that time to a 31.69 for Allen. Slight, very, very slight increases, if any, between these two groups. It is 30 laps to go already here at Echo Park. Green flag to flag so far. Possibly the cleanest race ever run at Echo Park Speedway. We might be setting records tonight, folks. I have a feeling there will be a substantial amount of drivers eligible for the 2 bonus points for having a completely clean race with no incident points gathered. Checking in once again. Second round of pit stops now kicking off under green flag condition. It's going to be the top 3 peeling off. Allen, Bolton, and Murphy, followed by the 33 as well. Argerbright will inherit the lead once again, followed by Snake River teammates Doffing and Jensen, with Tanner Witt now taking over the 4th position. Cody Schultz just behind. Majority of the second pack has come down pit lane as well, that being Kyle Nadeau, Crank Bell, Alan Blue, Max Bauman, Zach Miller. Argerbright continues to lead with 25 laps to go. This is where your pit stop time will be absolutely crucial. Even a half a second of time spent on pit road could mean the difference between finishing top 5 and potentially outside the top 10. Hard on the brakes as the 41 leading this group to pit road. A little bit sideways for Jake Doffing in the 13. Making every bit of time possible on the pit lane entry. Big stack up. Behind, Tanner Witt gets turned by the 30 on pit road entry. That is going to be very costly for the 88. I don't think he's going to be pleased with the 30 going forward. Possibly a straight change of strategy. We'll see if the 88 continues to take 4 tires, or if he potentially just takes right sides to keep with the group in front of him. Looks like he will just take right sides in an effort to make up for the damage done, the time lost, but unfortunately still won't be able to keep in touch with the group ahead. Bennett Allen still out front. Connell Bolton runs second with Bradley Murphy in 3rd place. Right now it's looking like it's going to be these 3 to settle it. Behind them, racing for position, are the 29 of Jensen and the 41 of Argerbright. That's going to slow them down a little bit. I think this second pack really needs to focus on catching that lead trio. Unfortunately, too long spent trying to shuffle out the pecking order in this second group, and it is costing them precious time. Connor Bolton assumes lead out front. Now 15 relegated back to third. Looks like these three not really going to push the issue too much. I think they're going to wait. They're going to keep this break out as distant as possible from that second pack so they can race it out for the win. And guarantee themselves a top 3 finish. Also of note, you got 3 of the most aggressive drivers in the field up front who are going to be contending for this thing as the laps continue to wind down. Now 20 to go as they cross the stripe this time. It'll be Connell Bolton leading this lap. What does the future hold for this trio out front? Will we remain caution-free to the end? That is the question. It's still Doug Argerbright leading this second pack of race cars. It looks like he's mostly uncontested for the cash. Max Baumann has fallen off. He is now relegated 1 lap down. Over the course of the pit stops, Max Baumann had a slow pit stop, 1 minute and 23 seconds spent on pit lane. Possibly busted for speeding. I think that might be the issue with some of these drivers taking a little bit longer on pit road, and they will pay the price. Quite literally being taken out of that contention. As long as things don't change with the caution before the end of tonight's event, he's still got to catch the 33 of Burchett. Burchett, though. Sorry, Burchett. And possibly soon to be Jensen, as Jensen has fallen off that second pack substantially. Doesn't look like any damage to the race car necessarily, but maybe got out of shape. Now runs 24 seconds behind the leader without any drafting help. That is going to fall quite rapidly, and he stands to go a lap down before the end of this race, more than likely. Burgett's still hanging in this second pack, well clear of his rivals for the lucky dog position. Bell on that top side, just trying to keep his distance as it has a little bit of a scare there into turn 1. Now stands to potentially lose the draft of the second group. It's shuffled out of line and now potentially out of the draft entirely. Leading the second group for now is number 20, Mike Stiverson, sorry. The great debut run so far here at Echo Park Speedway. First race of the season. So far, so good for the driver of the Home Depot Toyota Tundra. He runs 4th right now, up 5 positions from the beginning of the race. Little bit of a moment there as the 20 shuffles back. losing the lead of the pack to Kyle Nadeau. He's going to cycle to the end of the line, gets just a brush on that outside safer barrier. Now it's Kyle Nadeau up to P4. Top three remains the same. It's Bolton, Murphy, and Allen. 6 seconds ahead on the racetrack from this second group. At the conclusion of tonight's race, the Nitro Super Speedway Challenge top four will be changing. The top finisher, who right now, as things cycle out, appears to be Doug Argerbright, unless things change and Bauman and Martin could potentially get a lap back. As it stands right now, the 41 would remain in contention, and the top three finishers in the race would take the place of the other three in that lineup for Talladega, which will be the first race of the playoffs. So Argerbright looking to collect once again tonight for the Nitro Super Speedway Challenge. Nitro Super Speedway Challenge brought to you by Red Brush HQ this season in cooperation with my own design studio, that being LeVox Creative. If you have any business branding needs, such as logos or cohesion or brand guidelines, in addition to iRacing paint schemes, go ahead and look me up on primarily X, formerly Twitter, at LeVox Creative. Inside, 10 laps to go. Now 8 left on the clock. Nadeau leads the second pack. He and Argerbright breaking away from the back three just a little bit up front. This is where the battle for the win will play out. It's the 00. The 15 has worked his way past Bradley Murphy for the second spot. Now it's about getting that top spot. But when does he make his move? That's what he's going to have to decide. He's going to be feeling it out, trying to decide what line to go with, how to get a run, because it's notoriously hard to pass in a small pack like this here at Atlanta in the new configuration. Now 6 laps remain here at Echo Park Speedway to decide the winner. Right now it's the 00 trying to hold off that 15. We ride along with the 4-time winner this season. As he tries to overtake the 00. There'll be 5 laps to go at the line for Bennett Allen, Connell Bolton, Bradley Murphy, just trying to figure out what's going to happen. He's in the catbird seat in the 3rd position. If these two tangle and get together, he could very easily snatch a win out of this thing. I think he's playing it patient right now, trying to figure out exactly who he's going to go with, how it's going to shake out for the top 2. Little bit of a lift there into turn 3. I think that's the 15 of Allen starting to try to time these runs. He's starting to mentally prepare for the final lap of this race, seeing how fast he can close back up onto the bumper. We saw him lift into turn 3, took all the way to turn 1 to get that momentum back, even with the 18 behind him. 18 not directly behind him anymore, actually starting to fall off this front 2 just a little bit. Catching back up now, probably with a little help from the 29 behind. 18 closing in just a little bit. 15 still trying to figure out how to generate a run on the 00. I don't think he's going to be able to do it without the 18. I think the 18's content to let these two go at it. As soon as one of them pulls out a line, if Allen gets alongside, it's going to drag both of those cars back to him. So I think he's keeping a little bit of separation in anticipation of what's going to happen here. Just 2 laps to go here in Atlanta, Georgia at the Echo Park Speedway. Race number 6 for the Thursday Night Nitro Series. It's a 3-car breakaway for the win. Just 2 laps remain. Coming to the white flag next time by is Connell Bolton out front, followed by Bennett Allen and Bradley Murphy in the 18. White flag in the air. It's Connell Bolton leading the way here on the final lap. Will Bennett Allen be able to make a move for the lead? He's right on the bumper of the 00. Gets him a little bit loose on entry to turn 1. Off of turn 2, still nose to tail. Looking to the inside for a gap. To the outside. Now to the outside is Bennett Allen. The 18 of Murphy is going to go with the 00 on the bottom. 00, Bolton is loose. They come together in the top 2. All 3 of the top 3 cars are wrecking. The 15 is able to gather it up, though. Calamity for Murphy and Bolton, but it's going to be Bennett Allen holding on to a wrecking race truck to claim the win at Echo Park Speedway. All 3 drivers, I would have written off all 3 right there, but Bennett Allen able to make the save and pull out the win. What a finish for those top 3. They did everything possible, but came up just short. A massive win and a 3-peat to celebrate his 21st birthday. For driver number 15, Bennett Allen gets it done yet again at Echo Park Speedway. Top 3 is going to change up just a little bit. Kyle Nadeau leading that second pack. He's going to bring it home second place, and Mike Stiverson is going to bring the number 20 in his debut with the series to a 3rd place finish. And Doug Argerbright is going to win the Nitro Super Speedway Challenge for Echo Park Speedway and pocket the cash prize of $40 and will be eligible at Talladega once the the chase commence for the Thursday Night Nitro Series. Remainder of the top 10, Jake Doffing brings it back from mid-pack all the way back up to the top 5. So 13 comes home E5. Connell Bolton able to limp that race car across the line to 6th place, and Murphy as well just behind in 7th. Behind them, Cody Schultz in the 30, followed by Crank Bell and Tanner Witt, that rounding out the top 10. We'll be waiting just a moment for the top 3 to congregate in the green room and prepare for interviews in just a moment. Of course, as always, we'd like to thank all of you out there watching for tuning in here to the Boom Tube. Great to see returning people here every single week. All right, drivers filtering into the green room. We've got 2 out of 3 so far. I guess we'll go ahead and start with begin with our 3rd place finisher in his debut race with the series. Mike, it was a bit of an up and down day, but you looked mighty fast out there in the number 20 the whole day, and you brought it home in the top 3 for the debut. Not bad for that number Very recognizable number 20 Home Depot machine, sir.
The whole intention was to come out and not make a bad or leave a bad impression in my first race. So not terrible. I was just trying to stay out of everybody's way, honestly.
Saw a little bit of a shuffle at the end there. Kind of got shuffled. You had been leading that pack. Kind of shuffled back to the bottom side of the top 10 for a short while as Kyle ended up taking the lead of that pack, but you're able to cycle your way back through in the closing laps. I guess what was the key for you to keeping it cycling your way through at the right time to be able to get back to that top 3?
Um, Intentionally, I used to race with Kyle quite a bit, so I intentionally wanted to get behind him and push him, give him the best I can, or yeah, I could, because I'm not in it for the points. I came in too late in the season to have a points chance, so I really just wanted to help Kyle and give him the best shot he could have. So it was on purpose.
Understood. Well, plan executed quite well, bringing it home second and third, stealing a couple extra positions there at the end due to a bit of a clash in the top 3. It was wrecking off turn 4 for all 3 of them, a bit of a push up the racetrack, loose condition for one, pushed up into the other, and it was calamity. 15 hung on to it though, but you guys were able to come out with a good points overall, and you did exactly what you set out to do and help Kyle get back to top 3 on the racetrack. And looks like, man, it's going to be close in points between he and Bennett, because 4 points going in was the difference, and it looks like they'll both probably have some bonus points to gather up at the conclusion of this thing. So good racing overall. I say you definitely showed out quite well here at Echo Park Speedway for your debut race, and we're glad to have you with us.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's unfortunate for those guys that were up there in the top 3 to wreck and just one come out and cross the line. But man, I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you guys having me, and I'm sure my wife's watching, so I want to say hi, Elizabeth. I love you.
Absolutely. So appreciate you watching if you are Elizabeth, as long as well as several other people out there cheering on their drivers, significant others, spouses, and all of the above. But once again, congrats on a great finish and overall a surprisingly uneventful day at Echo Park.
Agreed. And yeah, thanks. Hopefully, I'll be talking to you next week at Texas.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Mike.
See ya.
All right. That'll be our P3 finisher in his debut race with the Thursday Night Nitro Series. Had a mission, stuck to it, and was able to get this duo into the top 3. So, speaking of, we'll go to the one he was aiding throughout the course of this race. That'll be the driver number 97 with a little bit different paint job this week. We're switching colors on the El Camino. It's Kyle. It was a very unpredictable race and unpredictably green flag to flag. I don't think anyone saw that coming. The end of the race might have been predictable if you go back and watch that, but the overall it was a very, very tough race. I would say not tough, fact of everyone wrecking each other, but I think it was a bit of a curveball for everybody who might have planned on there being several cautions to take advantage of. Tell us what you saw out there in the 97 today.
I saw a lot of slipping and sliding, and a lot of pushing, and then a lot of weaving, and not a lot of cautions, which I was surprised because about halfway through the run, your tires would start to disappear, and if you were saving, you had a little bit of right front, but your right rear would be gone. And once you get the corner with a truck beside you, and definitely a truck behind you, it would take the air off, and you would wiggle up the track. But I mean, good on the boys again. Bristol was a fairly clean race for Bristol, and Atlanta, damn, like give these guys props because that was a hell of a race and hell of a clean race.
Yeah, we saw a bit of back and forth between your second group there and the lead group, but ultimately everyone pretty equal on terms of speed. So once that gap kind of opened up, it was very hard to make that back. You were starting to make inroads, but it seemed like racing kept breaking out in the second pack and slowing things down a little bit over the course of the run.
Yeah, it just once we kind of got momentum, the outside line would form up, and the inside line would just kind of hang there, and that would just let the front three take off. But then they would lap a couple cars, and they would add 4 or 5 cars to their pack, and by the time that we got straightened out, we were gone. They were gone. So it was just a wonky, weird restrictor plate race. Thinking maybe Bennett wouldn't win this one, but you know, he just pulls another one out, and yeah.
Yeah, that indeed. Had a great save, honestly, at the end there to keep it pointed mostly the right direction as it crossed the line. But overall, great race by everybody. It was entertaining seeing the ebb and flow of the various packs throughout the race as the two backpacks kind of combined, and the dynamics of that, having teammates come back together and things like that. And it seems like you had pretty good help out there in the 20 today as well.
Yeah, I've raced with Mike the past leagues, and we've been teammates for a long time, and we actually had a truck championship come down to the final race between us. So we're pretty good in the trucks, and we're pretty good friends and pretty good teammates. So yeah, I trust Mike with anything racing, and you know all the my other teammates, Zach, Connell, Bradley. I trust them with racing too. And look, Bradley and Connell were up there, almost had the thing won. So you know what they say, you got to lose one to win one. So look out for those two. They've been consistent this season.
Absolutely. We'll look for that consistency to continue, especially as you kind of add to the numbers of your friends around you on the racetrack. So maybe be able to break through the grip that the turnaround turbos have on the team points, and what Bennett Allen's going to have over the driver points at the end of this one. So that will, unfortunately, I think, topple your reign on the number one spot, at least for now. But going into Texas, how are you liking your odds heading into next week?
Well, I think Great Lakes has the team points right now, but yeah, it'll be close between Bennett and I. I didn't lead a lap, and he led the most, so he'll probably be 1 or 2 points ahead. But I'm feeling pretty good at Texas. About Texas, I like Texas. It's a wonky track. Hate watching it in real life, but for some reason, I kind of just take to how that track has been designed, and yeah, just a solid track for me. The next few races are gonna be pretty solid for me. I know Bennett's lights out at a road course, but I think Nashville Fairgrounds is coming up in Pocono, so yeah, I'm looking forward to those races.
Well, if it's anything like today, hopefully we'll see pretty equal footing between all the drivers. It's been very close pace-wise. It's just been a matter of the little things adding up and the way events have played out that have kind of made the difference in the last couple races. I wouldn't say one driver has necessarily had the overall pace advantage over anyone else. It's been pretty close throughout the field, but it's just a matter of luck, and the 15 seems to have that in spades right now.
Yeah, you know, we both kind of started on the back foot, but just consistency, getting back up through the top five and into the points lead for a little bit. And now Bennett up into the points lead where we all kind of figured he'd be. Um, but you know, it'll be close going into the chase. He didn't win the first race off the hop. He didn't win the first 4 races off the hop, but now he's at 3 in a row and 4 out of 6. He's got a Tyler Reddick style run going right now. But you know, I'm looking forward to it. I love tight battles. You know, points battles. I love points racing. No winning you're in stuff like how NASCAR used to do, just straight up points, reset, go for the next 5. But it's gonna be compelling.
I think couldn't have said it better myself. It'll be compelling going into the chase, especially with the points reset. Everyone will kind of get clustered back together regardless of where things settle out. So be interesting to see where things happen. And we got we mentioned the Nitro Super Speedway Challenge for some of these drivers that they're going to be eligible for. And for the first race of the chase is going to be at Talladega. So that's going to be a big wild card that could put some drivers on the back foot right off the bat. And we'll see how they manage that. So it's really anybody's chase. It's how where you can place yourself in the points to be able to not be fighting an uphill battle off the rip once we get down to it. But so far you're hanging on. I mean, you're top 2 in points, which is definitely nothing to be ashamed of. You know, it's definitely something to hang your hat on, and you're on the cusp. You're in contention every single week, so just need that extra little bit of luck to get you the rest of the way there. And hopefully, with, like you mentioned, those good tracks for you coming up, we'll see one of you guys, maybe in the Great Lakes Racing stable, break through for a win in the next couple of races. But I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon in an interview next week, if not the weeks following. So thanks for the time, Kyle. I'll let you have the floor for a minute for anyone you'd like to shout out before we hang it up for the night.
Thanks, Adam. I'd like to thank you for broadcasting it and looking at the standings here, we were 1/10 short of an hour. So race done in under an hour. That's a hell of an accomplishment. And thank you to everybody out here racing clean, hard fought racing. I want to thank my fiance Chantel for allowing me to do this every Thursday night. I love you. I want to thank my parents for watching and supporting. Thank you guys, and I love you guys too. I want to thank everybody watching for us. You, Adam, for broadcasting, BoomTube for being the streaming channel of choice for iRacing content. I want to thank Red Brush HQ for sponsoring and Sugar Maple Designs for sponsoring. And yeah, I think we got everybody.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, Kyle. Thank you for the shout-outs, and thanks for being here to put on a show for us every week, sir. And we'll hope to see you next week in Texas.
See you down there.
All right. Let's spend the second place finisher, Mr. Kyle Nadeau. Go ahead and let him go for the evening and drag in Mr. Bennett Allen, Mr. Three-peat. Getting it done at Echo Park by the slimmest of margins after a melee off the final turn, but gets it done for 3 in a row at the unpredictable in many different ways Echo Park Speedway race here. The Thursday Night Nitro Series, flag to flag, green flag coverage, which is not what anyone expected, but here we are. But you got it done in the end and held on to a nearly wrecked race truck at the end of it. Take us through your night, Bennett, and I guess what was going through your mind the last couple laps.
Yeah, first of all, hats off to everybody in the league. Green flag racing, flag to flag at a super speedway type track is mad impressive. But yeah, I mean, the whole race was really fun. I went to the back of the pack at the beginning of the race to watch the rest of the first 2 games of the Sweet 16 that were on. And so once those finished up, I started moving my way back through the pack and got up front. We got to that first pit stop, and I nearly got a penalty for pit road entry. I don't know how I didn't, to be fair. Everyone said I had 4 tires above the white line, which I felt like I did. I was waiting for the penalty to come out. But I feel like iRacing has a timer, so if you're above the white line for a certain amount of time, then it'll give you a penalty. I could be wrong, but that's the only thing that makes sense to me. But I got a good pit stop there. I just took 4 tires, fuel, got back out there, and then we had that 6 to 8 second gap on the second group for a while. And pitted again, and I took 2 tires because I knew that it would take less time to take 2 tires of fuel than 4 because we had to take less fuel. And I had a 3-second gap on Connell coming off of pit road, and then I literally was half throttle for a full lap to make sure he could get back to me. And then from there, I just had to ride. I wanted to keep the gap just in case something did happen coming off 4. And then also just to have the gap because it's nice to have a 6-second gap on the second group. And it just seemed like they could never get it together enough to, catch us. And it's harder to do at this track. There is a way to do it, but I'm not sure because it seemed like running the bottom wouldn't work, and I think running the top wouldn't work either. So yeah, coming off 4 there, 10 laps to go, I finally got behind Connell. I got in front of Bradley. He gave me the bottom going into 1, so I took it, and I was kind of trying to see what the runs would do for those 10 laps. So I'd try to, see if I could get a run off of 4, and I knew I couldn't after about 2 or 3 tries. I'd had to do it in a very specific way, but there's no way I would have gotten to him at the line. And I tried coming off of 2, and that seemed like the best option. So on the white flag off of 2, I got a run, and then I got to his outside, which is preferred if you want to try to pass somebody. I had sucked him back a little bit, and then I tried to watch the replay. The angle on the broadcast wasn't great, but it seemed like Bradley gave Connell an unsquare push, got him loose, and then we made contact. And when we made contact, it made us have even more contact, and they wrecked. And then I saved it, did my best to get back on the racing surface in a timely fashion, and still ended up winning. But still a lot of fun. This is a wild card track for a lot of people, so I almost feel bad. You know, I'm not a pro or anything. I'm not even affiliated with a setup shop anymore, and I'm just here trying to have some fun. And I kind of feel bad for taking these races from people who probably deserve to win it.
Well, like we had mentioned to some of the other drivers, you seem to have a strange amount, almost surreal amount of good luck in events like that, to where you had just enough control left in that truck to save it off of turn 4. We saw you at pretty much a 45-degree angle, sliding toward the infield grass, and you got it gathered back up, and just the situations play out the way they do. I don't think anyone can really blame anyone else for it. I don't think there was really any circumstances that would anyone could really point a finger at that'd be like, he did this wrong, and or anything like that. And I think as well deserved overall. We followed along some of those last 10 laps, as you were mentioned. You were trying to gauge those runs. We saw you back off a couple different, back off on entry to 3, backed it up a little bit further, and still only really got back to the bumper going into 1, which obviously isn't soon enough. So it was interesting to watch that play out and see some of the different things you were playing around with in the last 10 laps. But in the end, it didn't really work out the way you thought, and it just kind of has a way of happening that way at any super speedway, and Echo Park's no exception.
Yeah, super speedway racing is difficult in its own way, but in Atlanta it's a little bit different because the runs kind of react differently. For one, because of the tri-oval, right? There's two dog legs in the front stretch, and then also the corners are so tight. So like at Daytona and Talladega, you have these wide sweeping corners where you could build a run in about 14 seconds, right? It takes about that much time to get around the corner, and then or maybe like 10. But here it's like 5 seconds. It's really really fast, and so it's different. You have to play with the draft differently, and figure out the best way to make runs. And like the beginning of that run, like I could go 3 wide because people were washing up so far to the wall, and all I was doing was lifting early and pinning it to that second groove. Like when you lift it early, the balance in the truck's different, and it kind of grips up more. If you're lifting while you're already in the corner, you're already in the corner. Like you're not doing anything. You're just still gonna slide. And I think that's how I got my run in Connell too, because I lifted a little bit earlier to get the run coming off of 2. So the run has to start at the beginning of the corner, So, and like another thing is the straightaways aren't as long. So the time to build a run in a straightaway is half the time as it is at Daytona, and especially Talladega, because start finish lines and basically in turn 1 at Talladega.
Exactly. You
So
lose a whole mile of racing surface, and you could see, as you were trying to generate those runs, just the difference. It might have been enough down the straightaway, the front straight at Talladega. You might have had enough runway to generate that run before the start finish line, because between the length of that straight and where the finish line's positioned, you probably could have made that pass, just lifting a little bit off of 3 and getting a run off of 4. But there's just, like you mentioned, there's not that time. And once you lump in the extra steering input you have with the dog leg that stays pretty flat, it kind of kills the momentum and makes those runs a lot harder to generate. But yeah, playing around with it, it's definitely kind of played out differently than we thought. Maybe things might have been a little bit different with the dynamic track and such. We expected the middle lane to come in a little more than it did. That looks like everyone stayed pretty much on the bottom the whole day. The middle didn't quite generate the runs. That's definitely where most of the passes were made, is the middle, the high side, just because you get a lot more momentum, keep the engine wound up in the power band, and things of that nature. But didn't quite seem as middle dominant as we expected over the course of the long run. Even as the tires wore out, we didn't really see anyone move up. Did you see that in the front, where the tires maybe not wearing quite as much as they had in the past?
That's the thing that stumped me. I expected the middle line to get so dominant like it did when we came to Atlanta a couple like a month ago, less than that. But I guess with the update in the dynamic track, it was different. I don't know. I couldn't see the top line working at all. When we had that big gap on the second group, I was testing it. before we pitted. Like I was trying to see if the middle would work, and then we would lose about 2/10 a lap. And granted, we had 3 cars compared to their like 7 or 8, but like still, like I expected to get a run, and I couldn't really get it going. If we were in a big pack, I think it would have played out differently. But there was not a lot of like camaraderie between all the racers. Everybody was trying to get those little gaps, and when everybody's moving around so much, the bottom really doesn't work out, or the middle doesn't work out as well. If we had like all the eNASCAR coat guys do this, they'd probably get the top rolling pretty well, because they're aliens and this is all they do. But um, we have lives here at Thursday Night Nitro, so we don't spend 15 hours a day just turning laps at a random racetrack. So if I had that amount of time, I probably could have figured out something different.
Nor do most of us probably want to spend 15 hours a day turning the same laps over and over. But
yeah, it gets boring after a while. You'd be amazed.
But hey, they got a lot of money on the line, so it's worth it.
Sure, let's go with that. But I had fun, and I think at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? I feel like if I would have finished second or third, I would have said the same thing. But it's fun. These guys are pretty talented, and they're good folk, and just appreciate them having me and let me race. Yes, I am winning a lot, and I can see how that can get annoying. But I have a life too. I don't just spend all my time on this, and one day the luck will turn around. Trust me. Just trust me on that, please. This is just one little streak. I bet you next week when we go to Texas, I believe.
Yes, sir.
There's going to be a different winner there because that's one of my worst tracks. Turns 1 and 2 can get blown up by a meteor if all I care. So we'll see what happens. But
we'll have different set of challenges next week, and we'll see if we have a different winner. But 3 in a row to hang your hat on for the 21st birthday. Not a bad way to celebrate it. So hopefully you have a good night, as you mentioned before the broadcast. Probably be indulging a little bit after you log off for the night.
Maybe. We'll see.
Well,
cracks open beer. I don't have it on me.
Well, you have to keep winning, because if Detroit sports goes downhill, then you still have to have this to celebrate. So,
very valid point. But Tigers won.
This is
pretty
true.
Good today.
Good opening day.
Hold on, let me check the score. I don't know if the Pistons end up winning or not. Don't tell me. I gotta look. I gotta be surprised. With half our team hurt. I haven't gotten updates. That's not a good thing.
It's not bad news.
I mean, half our team's hurt right now. I don't expect him to win this game. Come on, ESPN, load for the love of God. I swear the app is the. We won 129 to 108. How about that?
How about that, indeed? So winning streak all around for the Michiganders lately. So hopefully we keep that going.
Let's not talk about what happened last night.
Well, they're talking today. That was yesterday.
Well, yeah, but we still lost by a pretty much give me hook shot by Jalen Duran, but whatever. I could have made that shot under pressure.
But once again, congrats on the win. 3 in a row. That's also 4 out of 6 so far, so pretty dominating season so far, making up for the trouble you had at Daytona. And you take over the points lead, the driver's standings this week, so overall a pretty good week for the 15 truck, and looking pretty good out there. And like you said, Texas might not be your best track, but the luck may continue. Who knows? But we got some pretty confident drivers trying to close the gap. I know Kyle was pretty excited about Texas and a few of those other races as well, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes out, especially with the new way that the tracks progress throughout the race and things like that. It's kind of a new thing to learn every single week, which is kind of a cool thing to witness.
Yep, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we can actually see track rubber at Texas compared to here. We'll see.
Yeah, dark racetrack does make it a little hard to see at Atlanta, as we noticed throughout the race. But congrats to the win. We'll see you next week, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for our interviews. That was race winner Bennett Allen. 3 in a row, gets it done with a last lap clutch moment, saving that race car off of turn 4 and bringing it across the stripe in first here at Echo Park Speedway. Of course, they mentioned next week several times. We'll be at Texas Motor Speedway, which is a bit of a love it or hate it racetrack for some of these drivers, as we heard also in the interviews. Kyle Nadeau looking forward to getting it done in Texas, maybe putting on the boots and getting it done. Next week, we'll see what driver number 97 has in store for the 15 here. Mentioned he didn't really like Texas, but I like Texas because it puts on great racing regardless of if the drivers like it or not. So another 1.5 miles next week, heading even further south down to the Lone Star State, and we'll hopefully see everyone back here for that next week as well, right here on the Boom Tube. Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's been great having everyone along with us. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I'm Adam LeVox here for the Boom Tube, sole broadcaster for the Thursday Night Nitro Series. Thank you for tuning in, and everybody have yourselves a good evening. Bye-bye.